Welcome to lesson 16. My name is Andrew Swaby, and in today's lesson we are going to be looking at the diminished sevenths. All right, in the previous lesson we looked at minor sevenths, but in today's lesson we're going to jump right into diminished chords. All right, so when you hear the word diminished, you may think of something getting smaller, and you're indeed correct. If you were supposed to picture a C major triad and I wanted to play a C diminished chord, all right, I am going to lower or make less, for a better one of words. I'm going to make less the third and the fifth, aka I diminished the third and the fifth. All right, that gives me C diminished triad. All right, but if we're looking at C diminished seventh, we're going to add. This is C fully diminished seventh. All right, because even the seventh note is diminished. Now, if you look at this, you will see that there are three minor thirds stacked on top of each other. So for example, from C to E flat, that's a minor third. All right. And then from E flat to F sharp, that's also a minor third. All right. And then from F sharp to A, that's another minor third. All right. So that gives us C diminished sevenths. All right. So again, if I wanted to form a diminished triad, all I had to do is to lower the third and the fifth degree of that scale. So C major triad, C diminished triad. All right. Now, if this is C dominant seventh, right, and I brought down just the third and the fifth, that's going to give me C half diminished seventh, because this is not fully diminished. All right, so I'm going to take this down. There we go. Now we have A instead of B flat. All right, so now we have C diminished seventh. So I want to let you in on a secret. There are only 3 formations of this. All right, 3 formations, and that will cover all our keys. The way that we can name a diminished seventh chord is by the root note, or what is played in the bass. So for example, this here is C diminished seventh if I have C in the bass. But what if I had this same chord and I played an inversion of it? I took this C and I placed it on top, but in the bass I had an E flat. Guess what? That becomes E flat diminished seventh. All right, now if I take this note and I put it on top, that becomes F sharp diminished. All right, if I play F sharp in the bass. All right, and then if I take this and I put it on top, it becomes A diminished, right? And then we're going to go back to C. So with just the inversions, 1, 2, 3, 4, we cover 4 different notes just with one formation. All right. Now the other would be, all right, that's the other formation. So here you can tell that I'm going to get C sharp diminished. All right, if I have C sharp in the bass, then E diminished if I have E in the bass, then G diminished if I have G in the bass, then B flat diminished if I have B flat in the bass, back to C sharp. Pretty cool, right? And then the third formation is right here. And then if I go up again, using inversions, I have first D, right? Then F, then A flat, B, back to D. Pretty cool. So if you did not like look into that before, that's something worth looking into. There are only 3 formations that you need to know. Ba, ba, ba. All right. If you're reading this on a chart or on manuscripts, then you'll have to know, like, pay attention to what's in the bass so you can name it. And of course, this goes into how diminished chords are used. They're usually used as passing chords. All right. So if you realize, when we were playing our groove earlier, I did D minor 7th, right? And then I went down to C sharp diminished. And sometimes that same C sharp diminished was used as the 3rd, right? It was used as a major 7th tonality for A. All right, see that? Not major 7th, a dominant 7th. All right, or a 7th tonality. All right, so instead of me playing A dominant 7th, right, I played that dominant 7th in my left, but in my right I simply played the C sharp diminished 7th, right? And that gave me a full lush sound. All right, so again, that goes back to, hey, if I use a different note in the bass, that defines the chord that I'm playing. All right, because this would no longer be C sharp diminished, right? This would become look at it, it would become A dominant 7th, right? And I'm adding the flat 9th. See that? This B flat becomes the flat 9th. So in essence, that would be A dominant 7th flat 9th. But when you really look at it visually, you're seeing a C sharp diminished. All right, so that's usually used to go to a minor chord. So we were in the key of F, right? So we did 6 sharp 5, 6, right? 5, 1, 4, 3, 4, 5. Right? Then back to the 6th. So diminished chords are usually used to go to minor chords. All right. So if you were looking at the scale of C, and speaking of like diatonic movements, right? If you were in the key of C and you wanted to go to D minor, right? We can go, all right? And if I wanted to go to A minor, I could go to, see that? Diminished, then to the 6th. So the rule of thumb here is play the diminished that's a semitone below the note that you're going to. So, all right? And then if you were going to the 6th, all right, so let's just play something. 6, 7, 1, 4, 6. All right, you see that? So 1, 2, 1. See that? 1, 4, 2, diminished chord 1. All right, so it wasn't on the 1, it was 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Another cool thing that you can do is you can, if you were playing a groove and it went to the 2, right? You can walk down using diminish. See that? Start on the 4, diminished 7th, 3, diminished 7th, then 2. Alright? Or if you want to get really busy, you can go diminished 7th, then. Alright? So you play the note before. So I'm approaching this 2 chord from the 4. So I went 4, 3, flat 2, then 2. So okay. Let's name these notes. So I'm at 4, which is an F, right? And all I'm going to do is make this 4 chord into a diminished 7th. Remember that we only needed to know 3, right? So this is an inversion of one of those 3. All right. I lowered the 3rd and the 5th to get the diminished triad, and then I lowered the dominant 7th to get the fully diminished. All right. Then I'm going to just simply move this down a semitone. All right. And then what I'm going to do is put this top note at the bottom to give me C sharp diminished. All right. Before going to D minor. All right. So I have. All right. So if the groove was. This sounds familiar. You made a way. Not good to sing. All right. All right. So you can go to the 2. All right. So say you were playing in the key of B flat. Right. We know that we can use the note if we know that C is the 2, right? We can use B diminished 7th to go to C. All right. Right. I'm hearing another diminished walk up. So if you've always heard that movement and you did not know what they're doing, they're simply using diminished chords. All right. So again, diminished chords are used as passing chords. So I want you guys to go ahead and practice that in all your keys. Again, if you wanted to go to the 2nd, you can play the diminished 7th for the flatted 2nd. So in the case of C sharp, you wanted to go to D minor, you can play, right? If you wanted to go to the 6th, which is A flat, the B flat minor, you can go to the note right before it, then to B flat minor. So C sharp. You want to go to the 2. Okay. All right, so it's used as a passing chord. The next thing it's usually used for is a replacement for your 5. All right, so when you're resolving on the 5, you can actually play the 5 in your left and the 4 diminished in your right. All right, I'm going to start this out in C so we can see it, and then we're going to move it to other keys. All right, so say we had the same groove. And then we're going to go to the 5. All right, so this is what you would play usually. All right, this in essence is G dominant 7th. All right, but if you just look at it open, in the left I have G and D. In the right, I'm simply going to play the 4 chord. Yeah, you're going to play the diminished chord instead of just this major chord. All right, so diminished 7th, back to the 1. So, right, so if you've heard that before, that's what it was. They resolved from the dominant 7th to in the top we have F diminished 7th, and then back to the 1. All right, yes, I am teaching you how to incorporate your dominant 7ths, but you have to know when to use them. If the singer is not singing it, if it's going to clash with your melody or the harmony that's already there, leave it out. All right, you don't have to play everything that you know because you know it. All right, you play it because it's tasteful, because it creates a better accompaniment for whatever you're doing. All right, so guys, go ahead, practice that in all your keys, and I will see you in the next lesson. That is it. Now, remember, the goal is not to be the best in a day. The goal is to become better every time you play. So hey, if you like that one, check out the next one. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button, and let's be better together. Peace.